And
Can you say AI? Yeah, I see on even on Teams, you just have to realize it just gives them.
I signed in yesterday to get into a meeting on Zoom in about 2 minutes instead of 15 seconds. Just slows the world.
Yeah. Good morning. Welcome to our Urban Renewal Agency, the West Salem Redevelopment Board. Today, Advisory Board. Today is March 5th. Unbelievable. We're going to go ahead and start it with our welcome and call to order.
good, Samantha Ross.
Here.
Jeremy Guy is excused. John Hannon is not here yet. Ashley Moore
Here.
Thomas Crochet here. Zachary Fisher. As well. I was so Greg Sean here.
Thank you. A motion to approve the agenda for February.
Let's minutes are next, so after the agenda.
Sorry, not the agenda. You're right. My problem.
I'll move to approve. Discussion? All in favor? Rolling forward. We're going to approval of the meeting minutes dated for February 5th.
That's the one that I had a potential conversation on. To seek a little more clarity. If I was a council member looking to understand the merits of the decision relative to our existence or non-existence, I would be looking at this as the footprint discussion for pros and cons. And I would like to, my perspective on it was we had a couple of specific items that I thought were enlightening in support of why we exist. And I would like that to have sufficient clarity that they would see the same attributes that we were proposing. And if that's, the minutes are a reflection of a majority, if I'm sitting in a bit of a silo here, and majority wins, let's move on. But if you want to quickly run through that, I would seek to amend them to include that so that it's transparent. That's introducing.
So I guess what you could do is you could minutes as noted by that. So I think it'd be helpful since you're seeking group to vote on it, and then you clarify maybe you're seeing.
Sure. I just didn't know if it had any. I don't want to take time if you
Sure.
don't have
I think it would help.
interest in it. The specific piece that I thought was enlightening is that the question was posed: what percentage of the $127,000 budget was attributable to this advisory committee, and asked for clarity, for example, 10 to 15%, and was advised that it would be that or less. And that attribute means that our existence is 10 to 15K. I understand that efficiencies are in order and seeking resources is in order and a priority, but you're not finding $11 million underneath a 10 to 15K number. So, that isn't, I think that transparency in the minutes would be helpful and enlightening, so that it's not just the language that was attributed to that discourse was that it would be minimal. However, it would take extended research to actually endure. existence doesn't have much of a footprint momentarily. That was the first, and the second item was when we were proposing our concerns about the dissolution of this advisory board and molding it into a singular. One of the additional concerns that I expressed was that realistically, West Salem and North Salem would be buried under the interests of downtown, which has a much more motivated populace and a more diverse interest. And so as critical transitions are being made in West Salem, it kind of is going to be overlooked, as would, I think, Salem. But those points may or may not work.
I think that's valid, and I just want clarification, so we would need to, make a motion to reflect an amendment to.
Right, so you have to do, without having to do all of its statement. I mean, we'll incorporate that in minutes, but if you wanted to do a motion to amend minutes to include the additional clarity that advisory board member also provided, and then you can vote, then you can seek motion, second, discuss, vote, second.
So I just want to understand, so essentially, the 127,360 line item, our portion, meaning the West Salem Advisory Board, is about 10 to 15K of that.
Well, the question was posed, enumerate 10, 15, 20, good guess. And the response was that it was that or less.
It's minimal.
It's
what I
very
recall.
small footprint.
Not a specific one, but I don't really have to get into it, I think it's just.
Got it.
A motion to approve the minutes as presented by.
So,
If not, we can just separately amend minutes and approve it next week.
We can do that too.
would you guys like to do
Yeah, that'd be good, because then you can review it.
Yeah,
Do it that way.
I
Simple.
wasn't here for
Yeah.
last meeting, but I mean, it sounds like we're just saying, so there's a very low cost for having some advocacy for that West Salem community.
I just want full transparency,
Yeah.
because if
Yeah.
I were a council member, the first
Yeah.
place I'm resourcing,
Yeah,
then
Yeah.
ideally,
Yeah.
you would approach it with some member of the individual boards, but, that's time.
I think
So-
we're also too, all in agreement that in the event we all went singular, all the advisory boards that West Salem would have to be buried because there's other priorities, like downtowns.
There's a lot of passion to downtown Salem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me express it.
Yeah, for sure.
so you don't have to do anything, you could just note that, have the minutes from the previous meeting brought back to the next meeting, approve both meetings for both.
So
You don't have to do
yeah,
anything.
okay, so we'll have the meeting minutes from February brought to April's, and then we'll make a motion at that point. Does that sound okay, you guys? Do you have to make
Copy of
a,
your-
do you have to make a motion to
No, you
agree
don't
to
have to do
that? Oh,
No,
okay,
that's
good.
fine.
Okay, moving forward, thank you, Doug, appreciate that. Oh, this is the fun stuff. Public comment, we've got, two guests, and if it's okay, I'll let them introduce themselves.
Well, we just have one during the public comment for Krishna, but, no way, it's actually on the agenda, so it'll be a little later, so this will be,
Oh, okay, I'm so sorry, so you're guest speaker.
yeah.
So just one, which is very special. Oh, yeah. Good to have you. Would you like to go ahead and introduce
Yes,
yourself?
I can do that. I'm Krishna Naguri, I'm the acting city manager for the city of Salem. I have been in the city for 25 years, and I served as a deputy city manager since 2022. So I'm here to talk about the livability levy, and I have a presentation, and I just like 15 minutes, I think, is
Yeah.
the time is allocated for me, and I'll try to make it public. So is it okay if I just like stand and kind of do
Yeah,
that?
the
or
camera's
would
right
that
there,
be-
so.
Oh, the camera is here. Oh, okay. There you go. Sorry, this room is, I have been in this room, but not recently, but, so if you can go to the next slide, Tony. So as you, that's okay. That's probably, thank you. As you're probably aware, the council did refer the mobility levy to ballot for May 20th. And yeah, we can just keep going.
Okay.
And the challenge is, even after cutting positions and reducing costs, the city still has $13.8 million budget deficit for this next fiscal year. And there are two major reasons that are contributing to it. One is the statewide limits on property taxes. And as we all are experiencing, inflation raising costs. So they both are contributing to that $13 million budget deficit. Next slide. So what has been done to cut costs so far? Not going to go over like what happened before fiscal year 24. I have been a department head over the past 14 or 15 years. Every year, we have done everything and anything we could do to just kind of reduce costs or reduce positions or, but this is, I'm not going back to what we did before that, but I'm just kind of looking at in fiscal year 24, we did cut down like by 4.7 million. And 25, 3.4 million, that kind of comes to be around like 8.1. The city did, we had a forecast review team that consisted of community members to come and look at how we are forecasting for the next 5 years. The team did make a couple of recommendations, which is to be aggressive about the revenue, thinking that the property taxes are going to be higher than what we are projecting it to be, and also making some adjustments to, every year we have organic salary savings through attrition. The assumption is to kind of be more aggressive and assume that you're going to have more savings through that based on the past history. So that I think they both kind of really helped to, before it was like 17.6 million, but adjusting those assumptions, that kind of came down to 13.8. The City Efficiency Committee, this committee was formed to look at the city's departments, and especially the general fund departments, to kind of see if there are any opportunities for efficiencies for us. And they only met for like 6 hours, but they actually did a really good job in kind of really looking at that high level overview of are there opportunities for us to improve or reduce costs. So with that, next slide. So these are the findings from the City Efficiency Committee. They did say that there is no inordinate waste, and the fact that the Salem operates with fewer resources than peers, and that is kind of based on the data that was kind of provided to them. And of course, external factors limit our flexibility, like property taxes and the revenue that we are receiving. But the other piece that I'm personally excited about is those opportunities for efficiencies, right? So we still have some opportunities that we can kind of tap into for additional efficiencies here. Next slide. The recommendation is to increase collaboration, really be tapping into county, state, and kind of look at how we can collaborate to maybe reduce our cost of operations. That is one. Reducing employee overtime, and this is kind of especially on the public safety side, we do have significant overtime, and I'll talk about that. They also acknowledge that the employee overtime is because on the public safety side, fire and police, we have to maintain minimum staffing in order to serve the community. We also have vacancies that we are not filling because of the budget deficit. The point that was made was for the city to evaluate, maybe we need to fill those vacancies and kind of figure out what that sweet spot is so that we can reduce overtime. So that is one recommendation that was made. Exploring alternate service delivery, and I think there's kind of more to come on that. But the one piece that I kind of put in the middle when we talked about AI, but use AI. I think looking at the data, the city does have fewer employees compared to the other peer cities. We also know that looking at the budget deficit, we are not in a position to add resources. We are having difficulty retaining qualified and competent and dedicated staff here, especially after 10, 15 years is when they say, you know what, I'm done because I can't do this, whatever, right? So we have to make an attempt to retain those staff because there is cost involved with that. Anytime we have retention issues. So using, bringing AI solutions to help with the employee workload. Those are the things that we could be exploring. So we continue to seek efficiencies, and I'm going to talk about the cuts later, but as far as seeking efficiencies, and these are coming from the City Efficiency Committee recommendations. Reducing overtime for fire and police, I think we're going to actively look into what can we do to reduce that overtime. And part of that maybe is to fill those positions so that we are, one is it is a lot for both on the fire and police side. You're kind of working so many hours per week, and if this is not, the overtime is not necessarily a choice of the employee, because we have to meet the community needs. If there is one of the detectives kind of gave this example, if they are working on a homicide and they have to continue to work before they can leave because in order to be able to solve the problem, the case. So that requires the overtime, right? So it's not that the employee is saying, I'm working here for this many hours. We have to provide certain services on the public safety side, and that is what is driving the overtime. But I think filling those positions becomes very crucial for us to reduce overtime and figure out what that sweet spot is. The other piece I talked about, the implementing AI solutions to help employee workload. Continuing efficiency studies, and this is also something that all three that we listed here, not that we're just going to wait on that, we want to continue. This is immediate that we're working on. The efficiency studies and the city, the efficiency committee did talk about, as we are doing these efficiency studies, don't wait for that to be implemented later. For the city to have some accountability about, hey, you did the audit, these are the recommendations, implement it. Figure out a way to implement it, because that's what gives you those cost savings. The city recently went through the city manager's office audit. That is going to go to council, I think, on April 18th. Sorry, I forgot the date, but I think it is April 18th. We'll be talking about that more. We are in the process of looking at our risk fund to see if there is any way we have to do business differently. We are also doing audit on IT. We were actually scheduled to do that a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago because of my change in the position that we kind of slowed down because I'm the primary contact on that side of it. But we are going to do the IT audit also. So the things are in place to kind of go through those audits, including there is audit that was adjusted for overtime. So I'm looking forward to see what we can do there, and making cuts. And this is new. Me and the leadership team and I talked about we are in crisis right now with the budget deficit. I know we have $13.8 million budget deficit, and even when we look at the 5 years, the picture doesn't look that great. The piece to really kind of look into what are the stopgap measures we have to put in place today for those cost savings, so that I don't think it is fair, and I don't think any one of us think it's fair to put the entire burden of this budget deficit on the community. Right, that's something that we are, for me personally, it is important to me that we do everything and anything we can to reduce the cost of operations. So we figure out what that is, and so we are asking that bare minimum from the community. Because I do know that it's a lot, right now with the financial, with the way economy is, and people are trying to meet the ends meet. And to go to our constituents and say, hey, you have to kind of bear this entire burden, it's just not fair, and I don't think that's the way to do business. So with that in mind, making those cuts like effective immediately last week. Tori, you might have heard this from no new travel, and I think it was released to the employees last week, so I'm just kind of not that you are traveling, I was just kind of saying that the employees might have heard last week, and you are the only employee other than me here, so I just like it. No new travel, no overtime for non-public safety services, because public safety, you just can't. It's just the way it is right now. No new consultants, no new software, no new technology, reduced supplies. And I'll talk about the positions left open in a minute, but as I kind of look at that, it's a lot. Like, because we are already, we asked the police department to reduce their materials and services by 1%, and they did. Now we are asking them more. Like, I don't think it's just police. Every department has done everything that they can to reduce their costs. But I understand that this is a lot, but I don't see it any other way. Like, we just have to kind of figure out what those cost savings are. So we are looking at, so this should give something with the fiscal year 25, some cost savings. And if the same measures apply for fiscal year 26, what does it look like? So we're kind of evaluating that. And the last point is the number 7, positions left open. Departments are looking at all the vacancies and to see which positions can be freezed, because we can't. Some positions we have to move forward because of just the way the city operates, but maybe there is an opportunity to freeze some of the positions, and so those 2 are going to give us some number, like what those cost savings look like. We are also looking at positions that we can eliminate on a permanent basis. And this includes a lot, unfortunately, on the internal services side of it, IT, HR, facilities, and can we eliminate some of the vacancies? I want to be clear. Can we eliminate some of the vacancies? Can we freeze some of them? And we have to fill, right? Like, so, and I know that these are not sustainable measures to, and then number 2, that's not going to give me 13.8 for sure. But everything and anything helps. Every dollar counts. That's kind of what we're kind of looking into the model. Especially number 7, when we talk about leaving positions vacant, there is a huge impact on staff that are already overworked. But like I said, at this point, I don't see us doing anything other than that. And I know that this is a huge burden on the employees that are already overworked. That means the city, some of these departments have to figure out what do we start doing, right? So that's a piece that we need to kind of talk about. Make sure that we know our focus area and we prioritize. Excellent. What happens without the levy? I know there are more cuts to, and I'll talk about the levy in a minute. The levy covers parks and recreation, library, youth and senior services. And I want to be kind of clear that homelessness is not part of this levy. There is no funding, no money from city funds that is going to homelessness right now. What we are doing, we are taking the state and federal grants and whatever we receive, we pass that dollar amount to agencies. So this levy does not and cover homelessness, and we are restricted to use it only for these three. And it's a dedicated fund that gets used for parks, recreation, library, and youth and senior services. Turn to the next slide. So the investment, what it costs is 98 cents per 1,000 assessed property value, and for an average homeowner, we are looking at $220 per year. And I just have some numbers about what it generates, and it is a 5-year levy. And I'll talk about what that means in the next slide. Next slide. What the livability levy does. So it funds parks and recreation services, libraries, both the main branch and the West Salem branch, senior and youth programs. And so it is a dedicated fund, and there is accountability and oversight. What that means is those are going to be used strictly for those three services. And there's a lot of questions about, and this also preserves and prioritizes police and fire. And I'll talk about that in a minute. The question that we're getting from the community a lot is, why are you going for a livability levy instead of public safety levy, right? So, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but this, in the next slide, I think I'll be able to explain that. So probably next slide. Oh, it's coming. But why this matters now? Why are we doing this, right? So we are in crisis. It is unfortunate that we are in this situation where we are talking about proposing a budget in April without levy. That includes severe reductions and to our services. And we are going to the voters in May asking for this levy to pass, right? So unfortunately, we have to propose a budget without levy. So you will see those significant reductions. If the levy doesn't pass by July 1st, we don't have an opportunity to not to give a balanced budget in April, so we have to do that. So it's a very difficult situation to be in. I don't think I've ever been in that in 30 years of my professional career, where you're proposing a budget without the levy, really hoping that the levy passes so that we can save those services and we can save those jobs. And that is kind of the immediate need, why we are going now, why are we going in May. Long-term need is, this is a 5-year levy, so this provides time for Salem to develop a sustainable funding solution. And let me kind of talk about it from the next slide, and I think that's kind of where the need is. So I apologize for the font to be so small. I need to maybe do something to make it a little bit bigger. So what you're kind of seeing there is, as you can see, this assumes that, let's say there is a potential local option levy, with the line at the top. So that's generating 14,014,661, like year 1, 2, so on. Assuming that there is that potential revenue there, even with that is how the 5-year forecast looks like. This is even after adjusting what the forecast review team had said to be aggressive with a couple of our assumptions. So that doesn't look good. That's devastating to kind of see the red that we are in. So by doing community services levy, what we are actually doing, we are separating the community services from general fund, right? So the public safety is part of the general fund with this model. Now, even when the council or the city, the council prioritizing services, at this point, by having both of them under the same bucket, under general fund, you are competing against different services. And I'm not saying what is more important than the other. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm just kind of giving a scenario where you're competing splash pads versus police officers, right? Like so, but those are two different services. One is public safety and the other one is community services. I think this model allows council to have a better prioritizing fund model. Like so with this, your splash pads are going to compete against library hours or whatever, so it's in the same pool. So that allows us to kind of look into general fund, which is completely, majority of it is going to be public safety. Now, as you are looking at that red, so that's where we have to be looking into, I think there are two ways to address that red. One is the other revenues. We are seeking for like the payment in lieu of taxes. Right now it's called capital district from the state. So that is one revenue that we are looking into. And the other pieces that we talked about, the fire response fee, EMS, we are rolling with EMS in like on July 1st. So there is some opportunities there. So there are other revenue models that the Revenue Task Force has identified back in October. So we will be aggressively approaching those revenue measures, right? So that's one piece. The other piece is to reduce the cost of operations and look for efficiencies, right? As we are continuing to look for those efficiencies, I'm hoping that we get some dollar amount there, right? So a combination of those cost savings and the revenue is the one that can address that trend, right? So without the community services levy, it's extremely difficult and challenging to kind of address that. So the way I'm looking at it is the city has been in this financial trouble for a long time.
I have just a quick question, because I can't see, even if the font were big, I'd still have a hard time seeing. There's a livability levy, a public safety levy, and I believe you just mentioned another levy. How many are there?
Well, right now it's like we're only going for livability levy. We are not seeking any other levies.
Okay.
Just like one levy that we are going after. What I'm saying is by going with the livability levy that gives us $14 million, it allows us to take those funds out of general fund and free up general fund resources for public safety. And then with the cost savings measures we are trying to put in place and improve the efficiencies and other revenue models from the opportunities from the state and other revenues, that red needs to be addressed as well. I think that's kind of what the summary is. The piece that I just being with the city for so many years, and the budget has been an issue for a while, right? We're just in this, I call it like we are in this vicious cycle, like, it's like this doesn't feel like we can get out of it. I personally see that with the, community service, the mobility levy, there is an opportunity to here bring that, right? And then put us in a model where we can continue to provide those community, those services, but also protect public safety, preserve public safety. So it is. I know this is a lot that we are asking from the community. I just want to acknowledge that, especially right now, everything that's going on, and it's a lot to go to the community and say, hey, pay $18 out of pocket every month so that we can have the services. But I also think that a smart way to kind of move forward with this, and a strategic way to move forward with this is let's break the cycle, right? Because that gives, Tori, if you can go to the next slide. To me, I think let's invest in Salem's future together, right? And we can't do this alone, and I look at this as, personally, I want to kind of move forward with this with a lot of people with me together, right? I think we need to move on this together. I know that's the same thing with the leadership team, and I talked about it. There is an opportunity to invest into Salem's future together. I'm hoping that this community comes together to move forward on this. And acknowledging that, understanding that we are asking a lot. I think there's one more slide, I think. I just want to give the QR code for, sorry, maybe we can send it, just a thank you slide with the QR code. If you would like to know more information about this levy, we do have it on our website. Next slide, this is what it has. There you go. I'm here for answer any questions.
Two slides there. The numbers. Yes.
So I just had a quick question about, which one was it? The fiscal year impact. What exactly is that? It seems like a lot of the numbers they kind of grow congruently. But that one, you've got between 26 and 27, you've got quite a jump. Then again, between 27 and 28, you have another 4 million.
Yeah,
plus,
sorry,
and then it
but
goes 8 and then back down to 7. So I'm curious, what does that represent?
I apologize. I'm blanking out on this one, but I can get back to you on what that means.
So that covers the fiscal year impact. Yeah, I see that.
Under the heading fund.
Under ending fund balance, yeah. Yeah, that's the, sorry. So that is the difference between our, I thought it was the difference between the current expenses and the current the total revenues. Go ahead, sorry.
That's what it looks like,
Yeah, but I need to get back to you on that. Let me give me like 10 seconds to kind of process this.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, I think so can you go back to that thing? I can explain about it. Sorry, this is bothers me, that I know. So if you look at the beginning fund balance, right, that is like the 35 million is what we are starting with. Now with this, the ending fund balance right now is 26.54. So there is so we are getting our expenses. So we are reducing that ending fund balance by 8.49. And if you look into the next one, the beginning fund balance for the next year, for fiscal year 2026, we're starting with 26.54. We are ending fund balance is like 26.44. So that's kind of what we are talking about. We are reducing the ending fund balance every year by a certain dollar amount. So that's so we don't want to, for the city to operate, we want to have 15% of our operating costs into ending fund balance, right? Because otherwise it is, so every year we are reducing that, and that's kind of the net impact.
Thank you.
Any more questions before we move forward with the agenda? Thank you. It's Krishna, correct?
Yeah, Krishna.
Thank you so much for the information, very informative. So we're on agenda number 5. There are no action items. And the discussion and reports number 6, engineering bond project status. And we have our guest Aaron Edelman and Tori Bamford.
So I just wanted to thank you, Noe and Aaron, for taking the time to speak to things that have been of interest to the advisory board. And so Aaron's been, I think you came last year, about the same time, to speak to, at that time, what the bond projects were, state, those projects were going to be. It's very new. I think maybe things were starting to get to the design phase. And so now we're a year later. And so thank you again for coming to visit with us and just looking for an update on projects around the city and anything that ties to what's Salem.
Yeah, so thank you. So sorry I don't have a PowerPoint to flash up, but maybe I'll start with walking through what we constructed last year. And before I get to that, maybe be clear, so I'll provide an update on transportation projects out of the bond. So the bond was a $300 million bond passed by voters that included pretty wide range of things, but one of the bigger pots of money was for transportation projects. So it's kind of combined from some update. So last year in 2024, a South Commercial, bad rate to the limits where you get I-5, and then the other part of that project, made a block over down the street at the Civic Center, and the post office. So that was really the big project that was completed last year. That was the first one that we did. This year, we're getting into a bigger construction season, so each year we're kind of ramping up and able to do more design projects. So in 2025, one of the projects is bridge strengthening. So there's 4 bridges in town that currently have posted weight restrictions. And we're going to go ahead and strengthen those 4 bridges to remove that weight restriction from them. So just real quick, those 4 bridges are on 15th Street over Mill, 17th Street over Mill Creek, Liberty Street over Mill Creek, and Mission Street over Creek. That's going to be underway here in a couple months. We've advertised and awarded that contract. Another project that's going to occur this year is we're going to start work on Silverton Road, which is the next big rehabilitation project. It's a bigger project. It's combined with some other work as well. There's some utility work that will occur first. It's going to start this summer. Construction is actually going to go all the way through 2026. One of the reasons behind that is, well, a couple of reasons. There's a lot of construction to occur in that area. There's also a lot of restrictions also to try to pull out and not have disruptions from the state fair comes and some of the other events at the state fair.
Quick question on with the budget, with the bridge strengthening or the repaving. Do you guys always, I'm just curious, do you have like a bid that you put out there and you go 3, 4, 5 different bids and whoever's the most, you know? So you go with the lowest bid? And how many bids do you guys look at?
Actually, we've kind of been getting a record amount of bids here in the last couple of months on some of the projects that advertised. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but for example, like the bridge strengthening project, it's a very specialized type of work. Frankly, we're not really anticipating 1 or 2 bids. I think we got 4, 5. Another example would be the next phase of the Gilchrist recently did. 15 years. Pretty big number. Just been getting some prices. Prices are still up, but they obviously were a couple of years ago. Some things are happening. So back to Silverton Road. So big project getting underway. I'm going to start seeing work starting out there. Questions on that? Okay. Other work that's, I guess, been ongoing is, I didn't mention mention last year's accomplishments, but it was last year, it's still ongoing, it's in West Salem. Drive, so we jumped out early and we built a tiny section of Marine Drive in conjunction with Applegate Development. It's a great connection to Wallace. So Marine Drive, big section of Marine Drive in the middle of the overall.
Can I just make sure where that's at?
Aaron Avenue is north of really, it's like a little connector street off to the east that really doesn't go anywhere. There's an existing apartment complex there that built a section of Marine Drive previously. So there was a several hundred feet of Marine Drive that went through the existing apartment complex. So this new Applegate development is leading to the south of that. Built another 600 feet that ties into that.
I'm going to share my screen so you can have a map.
There you go. Thank you.
So,
Yeah, so the section of Marine Drive that was funded kind of started as a connection off of Fifth and went to the north. So if you want to scroll down, Tori. No, keep going. So the project includes yeah, so you go north. Okay, so Applegate is that vacant parcel there. So this is the Herrick connection, and what you see there through the middle is the existing piece of Marine. So we literally built through this parcel that's under development right now. It's a veterans housing project. So we jumped out in front of the bigger project and worked with the developer to build that small section. And now we're essentially moving on to design the rest of the project. So it's a big one that's underway.
how far down the road?
To that Fifth
Okay.
Avenue connection. So for those of you that might be unfamiliar, so the Marine Drive concept goes all the way from Riverbend, comes down, and theoretically goes past that Fifth Avenue connection and ties it to so that was underway. We've got several other big projects that are in design or getting started on design. I mentioned the Gilcrest earlier. That's a big project that's built a phase last year at 2nd Street. Second phase is being constructed this summer, 25th. That does have some bond money in it. Work that's occurred to date has been mostly readily funded. Well, so that's underway. I don't want to talk about that one. But projects that are also in design would be the next phase of the Eaton Street friendly bikeways. So a few years ago, there was improvements done kind of in the middle piece. Bond has funding to finish off the eastern end as it wraps around towards Wall Street. That's one that's under design. We're just getting started on design for improvements on State Street from 12th to 17th. It's a big urban project, basically kind of redo that whole corridor. New sidewalk and pavement. So we upgrades as well. Let's see what else is underway. The Cool Creek Path right over here back to the Riverfront Park, by the old Pleasant Cascade site. So there's an existing pathway that kind of comes under the bridge on Commercial Street. So there's funding there. We took the bond money, we went after the grant, and secured a bunch of extra money to help connect that all the way. That's just getting underway as well. I believe process of hiring a consultant. Other future pavement R&R projects. So we talked about Silverton Road, which is the 2025 one, and then the next one would be for 2026, which is on
another section of Commercial Street, 12. Plans and improvements that were done several years back in commercial. That also includes the work on Dokesbury. So a little bit of Dokesbury just to the south of that. There's that section.
Repavement.
That is true. Everywhere.
Potholes, just a question. There's some pretty significant potholes around town, West Salem, downtown, everywhere. And my particular car will hit that, and I feel like my entire car just fell apart. Seriously, it's that bad. Who could,
Operations has a crew that goes around and tries to address those. This is like if you're thinking of some of the bad ones out of definition, which you know, there as well, that would be, but that's the state's. But I'm not saying the city. Because I think you're front and center to a lot of.
Yeah, it's a center.
Yeah, Center Street is I'm not sure which section, but Center Street
well, I'm
is
just
where the.
wondering if there's like a number that, as drivers can call, because if some of these individuals never
Yeah.
cruise that road, they're not gonna know unless they're told.
I mean, certainly, I think all of the main public works number, 503, 5886 is what we want. Mentioned Center Street, so that is 2028. So that one's coming. So yeah, there's obviously projects in the out years beyond that. So we haven't really gotten started yet, so. Questions?
That 300 million was for 2025.
It's a 10-year bond.
10.
Yeah. So of that 300, that there was about 157 million that was going towards the transportation projects. Part of money. And we had some spread. Civic Center, great.
Any questions, or I was gonna say, do we want to put that phone number in the chat, but we don't have chat. Okay, so moving forward, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Aaron.
We have another guest, Wallace, Marine Park ongoing safety and maintenance, Noah, excuse me, Marcus.
Yes, I am the parks operator, one of the parks operations field supervisors of the parks. I've been with the CSO for 10 years and parks supervisor for 5 of those years. So I oversee the staff over at Wallace Marine Park. Currently have 2 parks maintenance operators that work at Wallace Marine Park full-time 5 days a week. So as far as ongoing maintenance, the staff currently are working on those. Ongoing unsheltered, we're still seeing a consistent flow of traffic with SOS team, shelter team that responds to those issues is still out there actively working with our staff and with those issues. Anytime we have any displacements going on throughout the downtown area, we see that traffic flow back into Wallace Marine via the Union Street bridge. So it's been a constant. Our daily maintenance consists of servicing and providing service to the public, but also through to the shelter community. Whether it's camps that they're still cleaning up, the trash that is left in home, the cans that they service, and just daily parking shelter issues. we're still seeing that, it's not as bad as what it was during our COVID period years. But yeah, we're still, just have to take pride in the work they do out there and, the service that they provide to the park and to the football complex. As far as safety goes, there's been some interactions with our staff and the end shelter. During the summer, we have provided additional security to the park for all the softball games. As far as that goes, yeah, we're doing our best, obviously, to combat this. As Krishna was mentioning, our budget deficit has impacted our department, has impacted the park when it comes to staffing. We actually aren't in a position to hire more staff to provide that extra support, that extra to the park. So we depend a lot on our seasonal recruitments. But due to budget constraints the last several years, seasonal that we're able to hire has definitely reduced. Fiscal year, so I think see some impacts to our service levels. Any questions I guess?
So, you guys, so your department is maintenance specific, so we're talking about grass cutting, picking up garbage,
Yes.
maintaining
Yeah,
trees, so on and so
trees,
forth.
park amenities, playgrounds, all, sports fields, all of those areas. That's our core responsibility, and also for all the years of provide support. Recreation programs we provide the service level support to that, so striping the fields ready for softball games.
So the additional security that's provided during the softball season, does that come out of your guys' budget?
That comes out of the recreation budget.
I must say, like, I go down on my electric bike in the West Salem Park, there's the trails, and I feel like, it's super clean. There's been instances like one-offs.
Yeah.
Super clean. I think you guys are doing a great job. I feel like the houselessness is, I've seen people coming and going, but I've never actually seen this Mac Daddy camp that everyone keeps talking about.
Yeah.
So it must be, obviously.
Yeah, our staff try to do their best to address, the one-off camps in the developed areas of the park, the natural areas, forest areas along the river and along the north side. Our staff are
You'd say that wooded area, mostly the north, right? So
Yeah,
I've gone through.
correct. Yeah.
Naturally, are along the river.
Yeah, along the
It seems
river,
pretty
it's
clean.
definitely, there's been a lot of reduction, in population there. But yeah, definitely it's shifted for.
So if you're at the softball fields.
Yeah, that would be the north,
behind.
Between the quarry and the park.
I see.
Still there, it's just not
The tree line.
approaching as obviously.
Yeah, and again, and that has direct relation to, the traffic that we see coming into the park. That's kind of the full on. That's back there and kind of back and forth the traffic. So, depending on what's going on in the downtown area, the recent displacements that went on under the ODOT bridge, Center Street Bridge, on that traffic. We're always in communication with our staff and always just providing the safety measures for our staff and kind of communicating with them. Kind of providing those safety tools for them as far as interacting.
Was your department responsible for removing the benches that go with, the railroad bridge, I guess is what you call it? There were a ton of different benches, not a ton, a few, and they're no longer there. So I was just just assumed
Yeah.
those were taken out.
What we were seeing there, maybe you noticed that, was just the encampments in that area, so they were no longer providing the service that they were intended for. Back with some measures to a lot of that, so spending a lot of money on necessarily utilized for the intent of.
Good question. Well, this is more impression than knowledge. Are we seeing the softball tournaments recovering? Because there's quite a drop off in participation, utilization.
Yeah, last year, actually, we had a record, attendance as far as participation, so last year was actually a pretty good year, surprisingly, for us. As far as use goes in the park, we'll see what this year holds for us, but definitely our recreation team has been making stronger besides continue to have more tournaments and more high level tournaments.
Getting back to it.
Yeah, but you're correct, there was
There's a huge
a
drop.
couple years, where there was some drop.
And it seems to be a topic for a lot of us because it is part of the face that we present to the public that is of interest.
Yeah.
And you're out there more so than we are.
Yeah.
What do you foresee being an improvement that we can make?
Yeah, I think, just providing, these open dialogues, with our department, and just, any type of resource, any type of volunteer that we can help out. Or just to, I think overall what I've done is just having that presence in the park and having that community support in the park, having the programs. I think that definitely, improves the overall interaction in the park and the public after that. We're making strides in that, but it's definitely just more time on our side. It's not letting that impact our service level.
How large is this park?
We are, as far as field staff are out there in the field daily providing this service, we're about 35 to 30. Yes, we have over 90 parks that we service. They can be anything from your local neighborhood West Salem Park down to your Bob Straub Trail Park or your large urban community park, Wilson Marine. So we have various types to the type of parks that we service. Even if they're undeveloped, we still have to provide that service to the park or just doing a month mowing to prevent fires during the fire season. We just can't leave these parks alone.
They return into homeless houses.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of got a glimpse of what that looks
You're
like
just having the
during
presence there
COVID
helps
when camping in the park was allowed. We saw what that looks like, so we don't want to go back to that state.
No, that's a good point because a lot of us have stopped using
Yeah.
the park as a result of our experiences for
Correct.
years
Correct.
ago, and it's hard to pull us back.
Yeah,
And I do agree that the more occupancy there is, the more involvement there is, the tendency is to kind of keep that clean.
yeah,
It's a difficult problem, as you say. When they cleared out Gateway, my business was flooded with people moving north on the I-5.
Yeah.
Pathways, but the concern I have with a lot of that shared is I know the number of employees in the Parks Department for the last 10 years has been on a massive decline.
yeah,
Same's true with libraries, same's true with all of these auxiliary services. We're gonna hit a break point.
yeah. We're still feeling the impacts. I wasn't here, but I do, hear a lot about it, of the impacts of the reductions that happened during the 2008 during the crisis. So I think we haven't recovered from that as far as the staffing level and as far as the budgetary level. So now we're going into a phase where we're going to hit this again, so we'll see what that looks like for our department. But we're definitely, internally as management, we're exploring options and avenues as far as how we can continue to provide that service and provide that coverage with our staff.
I would just commend your department for budgets and staffing reductions. Like, you guys do a really nice job, like, based off of, you know, what our environment is at the moment.
Yeah.
So kudos to you guys, hard work.
Yeah, we try to make, do with, you know, what we have, and, you know, again, it's a team effort, down from management, down to, the field staff, you know, bounce ideas on each other as far as, you know, what we can do with our service. Service.
I'm just curious, but like with what Krishna was talking about, like how is your department gonna be affected by that, or does the levy provide?
So just last fiscal year, we had a 700,000 reduction. So we already saw that impact, so that impacted our maintenance costs, staff. Some sources. Right. Splash pads were originally slated to not come on last year, but get some of that money back. It's a $400. So going into this next fiscal, as Christian's talking about, definitely see more of that impact if this levy doesn't pass. If the levy passes, we'll be able to continue to provide the existing services. It's not going to give us what we need, but it's going to give us just kind of keep our department going.
Otherwise, are you looking at staffing reduction? Is that something that you see?
It's something that we're discussing, similar to what Christian's talking about, just exploring what positions, vacancies are out there. Definitely see exploring all options. Discussion.
There's definitely a huge benefit to the communities, like overall community to have park access, obviously, but those immediately adjacent, I don't know if there's some kind of partnering, because I know that similar to roads maintenance, where there's like, it's like that ownership to it. So not necessarily to do what you guys do, because there's a specific skill set to that, and also I think for safety and other reasons, we want to probably keep residents from showing up there, you know, we whacker them over to help provide that service. Yeah. But walking through, you mentioned too, as a deterrent to have like a presence during less peak hours to show up to help show activity in a park or garbage or something like that. I don't know if there's an existing program already.
Yeah, we have a volunteer program and a volunteer coordinator that kind of works with the community on providing specific projects that we do throughout the year in our parks. So that's definitely an avenue that we definitely rely a lot on the I mean, if it's a business, if it's college, it's just there's so many interactions.
Who's the volunteer coordinator?
Right now it is Melinda, but she's part of our recreation team. If we get back as far as content.
Yes.
Questions? The next one is our latest. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well done.
Latest from West Salem organizations, March 20th, we're having Julie Hoy come and speak with WSBA. Typically, the meetings are the fourth Thursday of each month, but with spring break, we try to work around that. So that should be a really interesting conversation. But I wanted to note, on our last meeting for this month, we had a viewing of a video by a gentleman named Davey. He started up in Portland, and it's homes or houses for humans for housing, excuse me. And it shed light on the houselessness issue that individuals are dealing with. And it kind of spotlighted, there was 3, maybe 4 particular individuals of, they weren't druggies, there was a situation, there was a life change, traumatic life change that caused them to be in the situation. And the reason why they started their substance abuse was because of the situation. So it was, I personally was super empowering, just these individuals have a story. And it wasn't necessarily the individuals, particularly we're seeing, the young kids that are, choose to be in that situation. There are stories out there that are just, sad. And the reason why they were in that position is life happens. Really quickly, the individual had his own house. Someone talked him into doing the home equity line of credit. His payments went up $2,000. The interest rate, prime rate went up. He lost his house and he started living in his car, and his car broke down. So there was a domino effect. So it just shed light on, what we're saying. So for me, it was just a little bit more humbling. So when I see that individual that is houseless, I'm a little bit nicer. So it was really eye-opening. And this gentleman, Davey, his last name, he's just trying to make the video like national attention. So definitely at a local level. So anyhow, we're continuing to maintain our membership. I attended a West Salem Neighborhood Association via Zoom, and they are via Zoom. But it wasn't as bad as what I'd heard. It lasted about an hour and 15. And I think they're doing it in person this next meeting at Capitol Manor. It's on the website to find out times and dates as well. So
They canceled their March.
that's in April.
Yeah.
April at Capitol Manor in person. So they've gone to Zoom. So anywho, just to reiterate, March 20th at the Roths, Julie Boyd. There should be quite a few people, so good conversation, good dialogue. So we're pretty excited. Usually 11:45. Speaker starts about 12:10. So and lunch is pretty good. They kind of upped the bar. Yeah. So hopefully we'll see you people out there and you guys too. Anything else for the good of the group before we adjourn?
As far as next meeting topics, so the minutes, there's the calendar that I referenced last time. We had scheduled to do an update on development projects on 2nd Street, what the status is, like our Earth. I'll check on that and see where they are. So as far as our piece is concerned, it's with the Salem Public Arts Commission to get an artist. So my understanding is they've gone through like a public process to find that artist. So it's definitely early stages. My hope would be this year we have art installed for the community, but it could be later. It could be this year. So I'll speak to that a little more, but it's mostly just original related projects, statuses.
Thank you. Thank you. Y'all want to wave?
Well, down there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find you on here too, I can find you.